When you are learning anything new, you quickly approach your limitations. You quickly approach where those edges of the map are, and you realize, oh my gosh, I have so much to learn. And it can be a little overwhelming, but I try to approach those limitations with humility, setting my ego at the door, and embracing the learning process and realizing for me that it's the learning that is the journey. What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 52 Qs podcast, your weekly insight into all things production and library music. So whether you're simply curious about the industry or working towards growing your career with better placements, then you're in the right place. My name is Dave Croft, and I write and teach production music for a living. And if you find this video helpful, then why don't you give it a thumbs up and a 5-star review in your podcast app, and be sure to subscribe because I talk about library music every single week. Today's episode wouldn't be possible without the incredible support of our member subscribers of 52 Qs, who not only keep our channel and community alive and thriving, but as members, they get access to extra features like workshops, live streams, office hours, Q breakdowns, Zoom feedback sessions, hundreds of hours of video archives, and opportunities to submit to real music libraries. So if you're ready to take your career and creativity to the next level, then head over to 52qs.com. It's free to join, and memberships start at around $4 a month. So, see that guitar hanging in the background? I have had it for quite a while. In fact, I've had that guitar for a while. I've had that guitar, I've ukuleles and everything. But if I'm being honest, I don't know how to play it really well. Something about the half-step linearity of the guitar, but the intervals from string to string, or sometimes a fourth, sometimes a third, it just, I don't know, coming from a linear kind of keyboard type of a mentality, you know, as a drummer and a percussionist, I mean, that makes sense, but the guitar always mystified me. But within the last few months, I made a very concerted effort to learn it. And I mean really, really learn it. We're talking watching YouTube videos, we're talking taking courses, getting private lessons, just really pushing in to learning guitar. And I kind of asked myself why, why now? Why, with everything that you have going on, why spend the time and energy in learning guitar? And truth be told, it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to play guitar. And there's been a part of me that has been secretly jealous of guitarists. Seeing them shred, seeing them play blues licks, seeing classical guitarists, folk finger picking, all of that stuff. I've been kind of jealous, and I see it as a superpower, especially in the Midi space where we spend so much of our time using virtual instruments. I know, and I've talked about on this channel before, that bringing real instruments into anything you're writing adds a level of realism that is really, really hard to replicate in virtual space. So guitar has always been on my bucket list of things that I want to get really, really good at. And it started a few years ago with learning ukulele. I really enjoyed learning ukulele. I mean, it's why I have, one right there. I have a banjo ukulele hanging back there. And if I get out of the way, let's see, you can see another ukulele hanging right there. I like me some ukuleles. Oh, and there's another one right there. And they're all different types of ukuleles. One's a tenor. I have another tenor with a low G string. I have a banjo ukulele, and I have a concert ukulele, right? And so they all serve different purposes. But the ukulele has only whetted my appetite without bedding it back down, right? It's a line from "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Meaning that it has satisfied that need to be able to bring a strummed instrument to my cues, whether it's a funky ukulele on a dramedy cue, or a sweet type of ukulele finger style part on another cue, or just a Zydeco, Jobim kind of thing, right? I've really, really enjoyed it, but it's only made me want to learn 6-string guitar even more. And so the last couple of months, I have really pushed hard into learning guitar, and I suck at it. I am really, really terrible at it. And not in a kind of, wow, just put it down and go away, but just in, let's just say there's been some challenges in learning guitar. And I'm going to talk about that. But before we talk about the challenges of learning guitar, and I do suck at it, I'm not nearly as good as I want to be, but I have been loving every single minute. And it got me thinking, why am I really enjoying something that I am not good at? I mean, this coming from the guy who plays every video game on easy mode, because I don't like video games that are frustratingly challenging, throwing your controller, rage quitting, all of that stuff. No, I would rather beat a game on easy mode than spend months and months and months trying to beat it on hard mode. Like that's not a problem. But guitar that challenge has proved super rewarding. And I want to talk about what the benefits I have gotten from learning this thing. And the first is, when you're learning any new instrument, but especially for me, having reached a moderate amount of success as a drummer and a percussionist and a composer, I have found that it's really easy to lose the sense of exploration. It's easy to lose the sense of discovery. Like I can't really remember the last time that I felt that spark. It's kind of like when you go on a first date, you're starting a relationship with someone, there's that expectant energy. Like with drums and percussion, I don't remember the last time I've had that. And that's not to say that I know absolutely everything there is to know about drums and percussion, but I've colored in a lot of parts of the map on that. And not only that, I've walked over that map time and time and time again. So learning drum set, and then learning hand percussion and that deep ocean. And that's why you see frame drums on the walls, and learning Bowron technique with tipper and, traditional kind of Irish jigs and reels, and learning conga and djembe, and even trying to learn tabla. Like it's all very much kind of in the same vein. It would be like a saxophone player learning to play alto sax and tenor sax and soprano sax, and also flute and clarinet, because they share a lot of the same fingerings and all of that. The techniques change, or carry over, I should say. So finding that era of discovery, or that sense of discovery, that sense of exploration, I've been really missing. And I realized, about 10 years ago, I rekindled that sense of exploration when I pushed into production music specifically. Learning that whole side of the business, learning how cues are created, learning the sound palettes, learning omnisphere, and learning how to mix and all of that. But fast forward 10 years, and I still have a ton left to learn, but I've colored in a lot of the parts of that map as well. But learning guitar in all of its frustration and all of its, wanting to be better than I'm experiencing that kindle, that sense and the joy of discovery, like uncovering new sounds, new techniques, new way of thinking about music. Like looking in my YouTube watch history, and it's just hours and hours and hours of the pentatonic box, or how to think of the neck differently, or how to set up a pedal board, or how to change strings. Can you put classical strings on an acoustic guitar? Like all of these deep rabbit hole of guitar. And I'm having that sense of discovery, finding my way around the guitar, not knowing where to go next. That's why I, had a lesson. That's why I subscribed to apps and downloaded not sheet music, but like chord sheets and chord finders. But the sense of exploration, the sense of curiosity and exploration around an instrument has been hugely valuable. And I think that gets lost in us. When you've walked the same path over and over, it's really easy to lose sight of the newness of it. If this were a relationship, this would, be a marriage, right? And so I'm not saying, I'm not cheating on my drums by learning guitar. I mean, I think that's where the metaphor starts to kind of break down a little. But the idea of what can we bring in new? Because if I can get confidence on the guitar just as a player, I want to bring it into my cues. But it's not just about the cues. It's not just about how can I monetize this? How can I turn this around and sell it? While that's important and is certainly a motivating factor on some level, it's only going to get you so far. But I'm sitting here listening to blues guitar records and watching blues guitar tutorials. Am I ever going to write like a blues cue? Probably not, because I'm not great at it. And the folks who are great at it are going to play circles around me, but that's not the point. I've just been really enjoying it. There's an excitement that comes with learning something new. There's an excitement that comes with the spontaneity of discovering things on your own that I think us folks who have either been in the industry a while or are established musicians, or maybe you're a music director at a church, or maybe you've been playing your instrument for 15, 20. For me, I've been playing drums since 1985. Yep. And so finding something that excites me musically has been really, really super rewarding. And then having the benefit of how can I translate these discoveries into what I already know how to do. Like I've noticed my ukulele technique improving after learning guitar. Just like using ukulele technique on the guitar, it works both ways. And now I am thinking, hey, if I want to put some guitar on this, I'm not nearly as afraid to. And it certainly goes faster. But taking this sense of discovery and using it in my works as a catalyst for innovation, as a catalyst for new ideas. So I have, first and foremost, found the sense of exploration and discovery. That's the first real benefit that I have had from learning guitar at nearly age 50. Another benefit is the sense of creativity and creative play. I think when we get into the point where we are monetizing this and it's a career and you're filling orders from a library, they want this, you give them this, right? The Venn diagram of what you really enjoy doing versus what they want. Those aren't always overlapping circles. I've compared my role as a production music composer to that of a chef or a cook at a Waffle House. Orders come in, I take the order out of the window, I fill the order, I send it back out. And that can have an effect on your creativity. It can have an effect on your motivation. Like, why are you doing this? But I have found that learning guitar, for me, has unlocked this sense of play. Like when deadlines are looming, and you've got orders to fill, you often feel like you don't have the time to just play, just have fun with it. You don't have time to. So the sense of play has come back in force learning guitar. Now, part of that is, like, I actually don't do a lot of my guitar study here. I take it downstairs and I'm sitting on the couch with Shannon and we're watching, like, I don't know, reruns of Frasier or Star Trek or whatever. And I'm sitting there working scales and fingering and doing all of that stuff. Thankfully, she is eternally patient and she has managed. I mean, we've been together, it'll be 30 years. We'll be celebrating our 30-year anniversary next year. So she's been around me quite a long time, and she has cultivated the ability to kind of tune out when I'm doing these types of things. And so I'm sitting there just like, working up and down and clunking and fat fingering notes and all of that. But that's what I'm doing while I am watching TV on the couch, just chilling. It's not nearly anything as formal as like sitting down with a music stand and everything. In that sense of play, I realized I've been really missing. I've been really missing not just the exploration and the experimentation, but the fun. Man, that's hard to say out loud. And it's not to say that I don't enjoy like cranking out tension cues or writing like plucky dramedy cues. Those are great. I really enjoy it. But I wouldn't say that I necessarily am playing, no more than a chef who is, cooking, steak after steak after steak. I mean, it probably doesn't feel like play. The play doesn't happen in the moment. The play doesn't necessarily happen when you're filling orders. No, the play happens for a chef when in their downtime, when the customers aren't in the dining room. That's not the time to play. The time to play is before the restaurant opens. That's the time to play. And so learning guitar has reinvigorated that sense of play. This unstructured exploration and seeing what happens. And yes, watching videos. Yes, learning my pentatonic box. And yes, learning the scales and, building up my calluses and all of that. But setting aside time to just play and enjoy it without structure, and seeing how that carries over when I do go back into the kitchen. When I do have a line of customers in the dining room, knife and fork in hand, ready to gobble up whatever I send them. But that sense of play has been really, really valuable. And I've really enjoyed learning or relearning how to play at something. Because as soon as you monetize it, then play takes a back seat. Another thing that can take a back seat is curiosity. Now, as a teacher, I find that I am a lifelong student. I love studying. I love the process of learning. I love the process of, or the feeling of like leveling up, right? It's like an RPG. It's no mystery why I love role-playing games, because it's all about improving your character, getting a new piece of gear, getting new loot, getting new skills, and leveling up. And suddenly you realize, hey, I can wield this two-handed axe, or I increase my stamina or my dexterity, or all of those things. It's no wonder that I really enjoy role-playing games. And the sense of curiosity, approaching what I'm writing from a fresh perspective that is offered from a way to make music outside of how I've been making music this whole time. That makes sense. Like, I've been making music in a keyboard left to right mentality. But what happens when you cross strings by intervals, or let's say you can bend notes now? Yeah, I know portamento and the pitch bend and all of that, but it's different, man. It's different. So letting learning the guitar kind of reawaken this youthful, curious enthusiasm, which carries forward into my other work. Going back to our kitchen analogy, I told you, last week we had Philip on. Love me the kitchen analogies. This would be like the chef finding a new ingredient, traveling somewhere and then, oh my gosh, tarragon or something. And then, okay, I've got to make dishes with tarragon. Oh, I've got to put allspice into something. And another benefit is I am finding that learning guitar has reawakened some inspiration in me, the ability to kind of channel the tactile experience of playing an instrument into other creative ideas. Because there is something tactile about learning a physical instrument outside of the virtual space. I think we can too easily get into our virtual treadmill and we just think, all right, so what plugin do I have for that? And I know this, that's why I keep shakers on my desk. I know that you can often get better results by putting your hands on an instrument. When I had Mike Myers from Songwriting for Guitar podcast, I said that a mediocre played guitar will almost always sound better than the most expensive plugin. Now that I think about it, I think it was that podcast. I think it was my interview with him. If I'm looking for the origin story of where this whole journey has started, yeah, it was talking to him and feeling really excited about guitar. Now that I look back on it, that's when I started making some shifts. But allowing the process of learning new things to carry over into inspiration into other territories and other parts of my playing. I recently brought up my vibraphone. I've had that vibraphone. If some eagle-eyed viewers have noticed it there in the background, that is the vibraphone that I got when I was in my graduate degree, my graduate program. And as a jazz drummer, I went to grad school at University of Memphis, fantastic jazz program, and I went for jazz drums. However, for all of the improvisation classes, I had to learn a pitched instrument. And so it was either piano, which is 10 fingers, or vibraphone, which is 2, because they didn't even care about like 4 mallet techniques. Just so I could either choose 10 notes at a time or 2 notes at a time. So I chose vibraphone to do all of my pitched percussion work. And I had, studied in college and all of that stuff, but that muscle had kind of atrophied a little bit by the time I got into my graduate program. But I bought a vibraphone because I got tired of driving to the music building. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use some student loan money. I'm going to buy a vibraphone, and having access to it absolutely skyrocketed my progress on it. And I love having it. And we moved the couch that was in the studio. We moved it downstairs and brought the vibraphone up. It looks great in the background and I can play it. I have access to it, that physical instrument. I imagine that vibraphone will show up on a cue here before long. Yeah, I would be surprised if it doesn't. But learning the guitar and that tactile sensation of putting your hands on an instrument has helped kind of buoy that idea when it comes to playing other physical instruments. It just helps with creative ideas. Because putting your hands on an instrument will almost always spark creativity. Now, in this process, there have been some challenges because when you are learning anything new, you quickly approach your limitations. You quickly approach where those edges of the map are, and you realize, oh my gosh, I have so much to learn. And it can be a little overwhelming, but I try to approach those limitations with humility, setting my ego at the door, and embracing the learning process and realizing for me that it's the learning that is the journey. I will probably never be an accomplished recording guitarist. Probably. Well, that's not my goal. My goal is to learn guitar, maybe to use it in my cues, but just to enjoy it. But using these challenges, recognizing where my limitations are, using it as a stepping stone to learning other things, and coming away with putting a higher value on persistence, putting a value on the dedication it takes to get better at something, and recognizing that resilience, even in the face of slow progress, can be super valuable. Because I have been making slow progress, frustratingly slow progress. It's the frustrations of being a beginner, knowing that that when you are starting something new, there is a learning curve. I've put in my 10,000 hours as a drummer and a percussionist. I've put in, if I haven't gotten there, I'm really darn close to my 10,000 hours as a production music composer. But as soon as I pick up the guitar, I'm not starting at 9,999. I'm not even starting at 9,000. I'm not even starting at 5,000. I'm more like starting at 2,000 or 3,000, meaning that I can't expect the accomplishments that I've had in drums and percussion or as a composer to lift me up to a certain level as a guitarist, as learning guitars. Only so much will carry forward. Now, if I go from drum set to hand percussion, or if I go from vibraphone to glockenspiel, then yeah, tons of those hours are going to carry over. But going from drums to guitar, going from keyboard instrument to guitar, yeah, that's not apples to apples there. So recognizing and acknowledging that it's totally normal to have a learning curve. It's totally normal to not get it right. That's good. That's the process. That's how you get better. And as you're facing those challenges and as you are hitting the wall, they're like, I should be better at this. It should be faster. Keeping calm, maintaining your composure despite how slow it may be going. And chances are there's going to be a boom of progress. That's how it was for me. Once I got the very basics down, once I was able to tie in some of the other elements from being a career musician, then super fast progress, and then a plateau. And that can sometimes not feel great. But I'm trying to embrace that shift from being an expert to being a beginner to getting better. I'm trying to embrace that. And that's much easier said than done because I am fundamentally very impatient. But I'm trying to cultivate patience, as my physical dexterity catches up with what I know in my brain, what the musician in me, going back to 6th grade band, knows should be the way. This happens if let's say you're a Logic Pro user and you pick up Pro Tools or you switch over to Cubase. Just the same kind of process. You know what it should do, but you don't know all the buttons yet. You don't have the technique. And for some folks, or sometimes I should say, that can be derailing. It could be frustrating. But we have to remember to recognize that there's value in the process itself. That's the goal. Not the immediate results, or not even the long-term results, but the process. That's where the real value is. I've also found the challenge of managing expectations and balancing expectations versus reality. And I have to remember to set realistic milestones for myself and for my progress and realize that it's going to take time and mentally prepare for just how it takes time. It's like building up your calluses. You have to work at them. You have to let your fingers rest. Then you have to keep working at them. And if you don't keep working at them, then your calluses are going to soften. And then the next time you go to play, then your fingers are going to hurt again. But that's natural. There is a pace and a rhythm to skill acquisition that can be challenging, that is easy to lose sight of, especially if you're an accomplished musician. Which means that you have to be okay with being vulnerable with yourself. Make sure that you're in a safe place, and that if you're sharing this with people, whether I'm sharing it with you or sharing it with Shannon sitting next to me on the couch, there's vulnerability in that. That can be bruising to your ego, but the discomfort of not knowing is okay, because that vulnerability is a strength. It's in the vulnerability that we grow. It's in the not knowing. And I have found it to be a real ego check. I don't have it all figured out, and I don't have to have it all figured out, and I don't have to be amazing, and I don't have to be amazing right now. Because the joy of discovery, of exploration, of curiosity, of inspiration, coming up against my own limitations, it's all about personal growth, and that's fundamentally what I want to be. I want to be a better version of myself. And learning guitar and sucking at guitar has really helped with that. But what about you? Are you learning any new instrument right now? Are you learning any new technique and maybe a new DAW, or maybe you're starting something altogether brand new? I would love to hear from you. Why don't you let me know in the comments below? I do read all of those comments, and I welcome an opportunity to hear from you. So thank you very much. And thanks for watching. And again, a huge thanks to the family, friends, neighbor, subscribers of 52Qs. Those memberships really do help keep everything going. And if that's something that you're interested in, then why don't you head over to 52qs.com and join us. It is free to join, and memberships start at just $4 a month. There is a ton of benefits for you. And these are folks who are giving their actual real life money to keep all of this happening. So if you like what I do here, don't thank me, thank them. But that is going to do it for me this week. You definitely want to tune in next week, where I am joined by executive producer, music library publisher, Jason Rudd of Level 77 Music, who just recently published two Christmas albums from the 52Qs community, the 52Qs briefing room. So looking forward to talking to Jason all about the publishing industry and the library side of things. And he is an accomplished mixing and mastering engineer. So you definitely want to tune in next week. But I hope that you have had a good week this week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And just remember, everybody, that I believe, trust, and know that the universe has amazing plans just for you. Until next time, peace. The 52Qs podcast is copyright 2023 818 Studios, all rights reserved. The music played on the podcast is copyright of their respective owners and is used with permission and for educational purposes only. For more information, including joining the community and submitting your cue for consideration on the podcast, head over to 52qs.com.